Okay, so we have seen a very interesting situation developing during the overnight and through the course of today. Wind gusts in excess of 90 miles per hour. Yeah, that's right, 90 plus mile per hour gusts recorded on the Dutch coast during the last 12 hours or so, causing widespread damage, disruption. And what is interesting about all this is the fact that we've seen something very similar happen back in July of 2015. A bit of a repeat performance, in fact, with regards to the wind speed and indeed the amount of damage that was produced. Now, remember, there's been several years that have been kind of murmured here on marthoganweather.com with regards to comparisons to this summer overall. And I think this is quite a stark irony here that back on at the end of July 2015 was seen an autumn-like level storm leave a path of damage, destruction that caused the worst July storm since 1901 for the Netherlands. And how interesting is this? So these were the scenes actually in Amsterdam back in 2015 during that July period. Cooler than average sea surface temperatures versus warmer than average sea surface temperatures likely was a contributing factor back then. And of course, the warm waters that we have at the moment likely enhanced that system over the last 24 hours. And we'll look at the details in just a second. But this is playing back. So abnormally cool versus abnormally warm probably enhanced the atmospheric feedback and produced quite the wild situation here. So this was the cloud photograph here back at the end of July 2015. You can see here wind blowing the sand on this coastal area of the Netherlands, trees blown down quite widely here. Look at the bend in these trees due to the 70 plus mile per hour wind gusts. It might actually have been stronger winds. In fact, it was stronger winds during the 2023 event versus the 2015 event. So it'll be interesting to see when things come together with regards to whether this storm, last night into today was actually worse than 2015. Certainly, Amsterdam Schiphol Airport received a gust of 73 miles per hour, and I'll talk about what winds were achieved at Amsterdam coming up here. But some very, very impressive wind gusts, that's for sure. Even parts of Germany recorded wind speeds of 159 kilometers per hour, which I think is over 100 miles an hour, by the way. Very steep gradient, very warm across Europe versus pretty cool across the UK and Ireland. Very similar setup, by the way, to what we've got at the moment here. This is the temperature anomalies for that particular day back in 2015. Below average temperature across the UK and Ireland. We are seeing an uptick now in temperatures, but we had warmer than average versus cooler than average. Again, a very, very similar type of situation to what we've seen back in 2015 just gone over the last 24 hours. So if we look at some of these tweets, there's the cloud satellite. This is the infrared. Look at that beautiful curl, representative probably of a sting jet in this little section right here, just to the left side of the center. I think that probably seen some transfer of energy from the jet stream all the way down to the surface. That tends to happen when you've got that transfer, that downward transfer of energy from jet stream to surface. That's when you typically see exceptionally strong winds, stronger than what even the models suggest. And it certainly was a very impressive situation indeed. So this is a tweet here by Paul Blight. Exceptionally strong winds now across Amsterdam and the Netherlands with Storm Polly. So this was named, I think, by the Germans, with wind gusts of 74 miles per hour at Amsterdam and 92 mile per hour near the coast here. And I believe I did see a wind gust of 92 to 93 miles an hour on the Dutch coast with this situation here. So if we look at this video here captured by Martin, look at the massive trees blown down here on this highway here in the Netherlands. So trees stripped, of course, a very bad situation when you've got very strong damaging winds, but also full foliage. The trees are a lot heavier than they typically would be back during the winter months when there is no leaves in the trees. So that is why you tend to get a lot more damage during the summertime than during the winter season. What an incredible photograph this is here of the trees lifted up out of the ground and lying against these houses. This was a tweet by Madeline, I believe her name is, based in the Netherlands here. So incredible stuff, actually, and just an amazing cloud image here. This system, of course, swept through the channel, through the Dover Straits, and then it really deepened. And of course, it probably deepened and peaked just at the wrong time as it was riding right along that Belgian and Dutch coastline here. This is another satellite image captured here by the Met Office showing the centre of the low just skirting the edge of the upper Dutch coast here. We've got that curl. Look at the kind of the bump in the clouds here, indicating that we probably had embedded thunderstorms. Was this potentially a little bit of a semi-warm core system? I don't know. Obviously, water temperatures aren't 27, 28 degrees that you would typically expect in the tropics to produce tropical systems, of course. But, did the abnormally warm waters play a role in this storm's strength? The jet stream, of course, quite strong, crossing over the Atlantic at this moment in time as well. So the dynamics were in place, but we also had abnormally warm sea surface temperatures that probably enhanced the strength of the system and indeed the strength of winds. Lowestoft, according to the Met Office in East Suffolk, recorded 53 millimetres of rain over a 24-hour period. That's a full July's worth of rain in Lowestoft. And if we look back at the article that I produced back in 2015, if I can find it, that is, it is interesting what it says here with regards to rainfall. We've seen, so yeah, it's showing how like the most impressive effects from this. So this is, of course, the 2015 storm was felt in coastal parts of the Netherlands. Many trees have been brought down by 60 to 70 mile per hour winds. It looks as if the winds with the 23 system actually was stronger than what we've seen back in 2015. And what it did write in the article was that we had a month's worth of rainfall in southeast England, which is very interesting indeed. It's amazing how sometimes history can repeat itself. And am I going to be able to find what I wrote here a way back? No, unfortunately not. But basically, I say that there is a location within the East Anglia region that had a month's worth of rain, and that is exactly what we have seen with this situation over the last 24 hours or so. So a very fascinating situation going on in the near continent with this storm Polly, and the cleanup operation will continue probably in the days to come, I would imagine. I am going to look, folks, at the situation regarding the upcoming weekend. Of course, low pressure becoming deeper. As I stated last week in the videos, that trough was seen by the models in the upper levels to start to deepen, start to reach further south over the Atlantic. And that is exactly what we're seeing, that trough in the upper levels as well as at the surface starting to progress further and further south towards the Azores. And what that's essentially doing is we're seeing areas of low pressure develop further south, and in turn, we're picking air from Africa, from the Mediterranean, and lifting it, projecting it up towards the UK. Of course, with an area of low pressure moving in towards Ireland, towards the UK late this week, with incoming heat and humidity, we increase the Cape values over the UK, and we have a tremendous amount of upward motion available with, upper 20s to low 30-degree air, plenty of humidity, so the moisture levels will be maxed out with this very unstable environment, and we have the potential for some very explosive thunderstorms. And this was part of the forecast I had for the month of July as well. Flash flooding would be a problem this summer, and I think the upcoming weekend, with the volatility of the situation, we have that threat of seeing flash floods across parts of the British Isles during the upcoming late week period and into the weekend. So I will specifically look at that in tomorrow's video, but I wanted to show you what's been happening. Southeast England, a month's worth of rain at Lowestoft. We've had 90+ mph winds on the Dutch coast. We've had trees blown down, lots of disruption. Probably ferry services have been disrupted as well. Airplanes flying into Schiphol Airport, for example, probably had issues today as well due to those strong winds. An unusual situation for the month of July, that's for sure, and a very fascinating one. I wanted to look at that today. I wanted to show you the comparison and the irony to this storm versus what was seen at the end of July 2015, of course. But I will look at the situation with regards to the UK, Ireland, and even the continent with regards to thunderstorms. How hot we're going to see this upcoming weekend as well remains to be seen with regards to cloud cover and sunshine and whatnot. So plenty of reason to keep it right here on markhoganweather.com here on YouTube. Check out, of course, the July outlook, the summer forecast. I think you'll probably agree with me. It has been a pretty decent call so far. I don't want to keep going on about it because I probably have went on more than enough about that. June being a decent forecast, July so far playing out. Of course, we need to wait and see what happens during the middle and second half of the month with regards to potential higher pressure, drier conditions, warmer conditions, or whether we'll see low pressure lingering longer into the month. That is all subject to question, and only time will tell. But I do encourage you to check out the channel in the next few days. We are going to have some very interesting weather, potentially dangerous weather to speak about as we press towards the upcoming weekend. So do check out that and stay tuned. Please like, of course, share with your friends and family, and do indeed hit that subscribe button so you don't miss future content. And one thing I want to end with, and I thought this was rather interesting, is remember I made mention about how I believed the skin temperature in the areas where NOAA declared a Category 4, even a Category 5 marine heat wave just, 2 or 3 weeks ago, with temperatures 4 to 6 Celsius above average. Remember I said to you, when the upper air pattern changes from high pressure to low pressure, we start to see more in the way of wind blowing across the ocean surface, that we would start to see a cooling of that skin temperature. Well, look at this here of Tropical Tidbits. This is for the past 7 days. This is the change in the skin temperature of the North Atlantic. So we've had the significant cooling anywhere from the Canaries up past Iberia, surrounding the UK and out over the North Atlantic. And that is simply because we have seen a change, a dramatic change in the upper air pattern across the British Isles. So plenty of reason to stay around here on YouTube. I do appreciate your view, your comment. Of course, they are read. Some are responded to. Some, unfortunately, I don't get the chance to respond to. So I do appreciate that. Please like, share, and subscribe, of course, if you haven't already done so. And I will see you again tomorrow with plenty of more content. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.